What's up, guys? I'm back a little bit. Really want to get a video out um, because I don't know. Just had this idea on my mind and wanted to get a video out. And it's been a freaking really long time. So just want to get something out for the people. But obviously, market's been pretty insane lately, and I don't know if you. Hopefully, you weathered the storm and held tight. Um, it's back for now. We're back. We're moving higher in the general market and specific things too, and just hope this momentum can continue. That would be great. As always, I don't recommend jumping into positions with both feet. I think you always got to buy slowly, especially when I'm talking about some of these like really longer term trends. You don't want to enter into these things with like 10% portfolio position size, and then now all of a sudden 10% of your portfolio is subject to a huge amount of volatility. So, you can always buy positions like 0.1% at a time, whether that's every day, every other day, and whatnot. So always build positions slowly because, just because the setup looks good doesn't necessarily mean it's going to quite work out, or doesn't mean it's going to work out right away. And it could take a lot of time to actually finally go in your favor. So building positions slowly is a good way to do it. And I'm trying to get better at that. Shout out to Tim West, who kind of helped me realize that it's okay to build positions slowly, so that you're not getting in a position where you are too scared of the volatility and then you exit, and then your trade works out and you're not in the trade. So that is never fun. Probably has happened to all of us, if not quite a few of us for sure. But I just wanted to talk about Lemonade Inc. today. This is Lemonade. I don't know if you're a U.S. citizen or if you live in the U.S., you might have heard of Lemonade. It's kind of I guess not to sound like a boomer, but kind of like a new age insurance. I forget all the exact aspects of the company, but they offer some of the like classic insurance options. They do have a decent advertising campaign on Instagram when the algorithm picks it up. A lot of times they're advertising like rental insurance. I believe they also have life insurance, but anyway, they have been growing over time, and that's one of the things that I have on my charts. Is I actually have, this is the revenue. This is a graph of the revenue of the company. So you could see I have this by quarter. I guess every quarter with the past year's revenue. So you can see like every quarter they're growing their revenue year over year. So that's a pretty good sign. I mean, from a fundamental perspective, you like to see that. But let's just zoom out on the broad chart here on Lemonade. It's a pretty crazy chart. So they IPO'd here in 2020. That worked out well when you had the COVID bubble, basically that bubble where everyone got everyone got like checks, pandemic checks and whatnot. And then you got a subsequent absolute draw down. I mean, totally destroyed. And anybody that was holding it just got totally obliterated from this massive drawdown. But what you can see, and it's interesting. let me see if I can fix this. So yeah, so you can see this revenue growth here. So um, obviously, like yeah, starting out, their revenue kind of dropped because of that, you know, basically recession that we entered post pandemic, and then you'll see a huge turn in their revenue. So their revenue just increasing big time. Um, ever since what is that, October 2021. So it's interesting to see the relationship between when the revenue started increasing. A second quarter of decently increasing revenue from the previous year, but the stock is still getting absolutely hammered, and it's still increasing all the time, but the stock still gets sold off. Um, and so you see a dislocation between the performance of the company, and the performance of the stock. And that's something, you can start to look at and start to be interested from a long-term investing standpoint. You can start to say, well, hey, this company's actually growing their revenue pretty well, and obviously you can grow your revenue well. That doesn't always mean that you still are in the best financial shape as a company, because there's obviously other factors. But just to boil it down to black and white, increasing revenue usually a sign that the company is doing something correct, and so you can start to piece together. Well, okay, it's getting sold off. Maybe I'll start slowly building a position. Um, and again, this is something you don't want to buy 10% right here, because you know first it drops, then you're like, oh, okay, I'm back to break even, but then it drops even worse. Then it goes really high, then it drops really bad again. So, you're experiencing a lot of volatility there. So, if you've kind of eyed it out as a decent investment idea, you start to maybe build your position pretty slowly. Um, and then, even maybe if you're nimble enough, sometimes I'm nimble, sometimes I'm not that nimble, but if you're nimble enough, after you've built a position on these sell offs, maybe you can sell some, maybe you're in profit a little bit. Maybe you can sell some on these rips higher, and that would position you to potentially buy in again at cheaper prices. Um, but then you get this nice consolidation pattern here. I mean, pretty frustrating if you're hoping that the stock would go higher. Uh, and there's a couple fake outs here. You can see this one here. It spikes high, comes back down, spikes a little bit, comes down really intense. Then it just jumps way up, and then boom, zeroed out that whole run again. And then goes up a little bit, back down. So you can see how frustrating this would have been to hold over this amount of time. But, again, if you're a long term investor, you're thinking to yourself, it's fine. I'll build like a 2% position on these dips. I'll build it higher, maybe to 4%. Then as it's consolidating, you're like, well, I'll go up to 5%. And again, 5% is a pretty heavy position. Not that you can't go more, if you really believe in that, if you believe in an idea, maybe you go up to 7 to 10% of a position. Um, So yeah, anyway, then you've got this really huge spike, and this is when we're starting to get into kind of this latest bull market, and that's where the stock finally totally shoots massively higher, and you get this huge run up here. Um, and then, of course, if you're not nimble enough to have sold this, you get really frustrated by this pullback. Um, I mean, you're getting like a 50% pullback from these highs. So, that can be really frustrating. But anyway, that's the long story of the history of the stock. And I won't try to be too long winded about, what the setup looks like. But, with all of that movement in the past, I think you do start to see a setup for lemonade where, in this last week, it's set up pretty decently. Uh, and again, I've talked about it before in my videos, but this metric is, and shout out to Ivan Labrie, who coded this indicator. It's the R.E. signal v3.3. Um, and anyway, it just gives you these arrows that just signal, okay, you have a breakout potentially happening, and and a lot of times these green triangles, they indicate a range expansion higher. And so here you have a range expansion higher on the weekly time frame. That and again, what I'm kind of thinking is it's going to kick off this weekly trend that could potentially go even up into the 70 price range. Uh, that definitely remains to be seen. Again, you got to be careful entering these things because, lemonade, I mean, it can definitely do something where it pulls back again and and disappoints us again. But it's looking quite strong right now. And so I do think there's a decent chance that we do just keep getting a nice trend up. If you look at it from the daily time frame, you can see the strength here on the daily that it's shown since we had the tariff tantrum, obviously, here. Um, but then it's just shown some really strong movement over that since that time. I mean, has most things have as well shown strong movement, um, but specifically, it's really starting to show kind of that strong breakout higher. And again, personally, I do think this sets up well. You want to see it try to maintain above these $35 levels. But eh, all of that consolidation that I took the time to talk about through the history of the stock, really what it does is it kind of sets up for this pretty wild and crazy, like longer time frame setups. And again, if you look at the actual performance of the company, has continued to move higher and higher over time. Obviously, you got some of this exponential and super explosive growth here, and now it's stabilizing a little bit. But overall, are getting some really strong growth, and you're just kind of hoping to see that gradually move higher. And just because Lemonade's kind of that forward thinking stock, the market does create a lot of volatility within the stock. So that's part of why you get some of these extreme moves. It's a new age stock, again, sound boomerish, but you can see this consolidation over this entire month time frame. And it was pretty heavy pattern here that, again, if you're holding it hoping it's going to go higher, this is super frustrating to you. But you know if you like the company, if you see what they're doing, you believe in the future of it, you just kind of take the opportunities to build a position. And then you get rewarded with this huge spike. And theoretically, hopefully you were nimble enough to take some money off the table there because of that. What I've kind of noticed, and again, it's hard to react, but the market does give you these opportunities where you're rewarded for holding your position. And so sometimes it is worth it to just take some off the table, and just say, hey, I'll just take some off the table. This has been a great move. If I get a chance to re-enter a little bit cheaper, then awesome, I'll do that. But if not, it's fine. Because again, you don't want to sell your whole position, but you do maybe sell some of it and take some cash off the table in preparation for some other opportunities within the market itself, or just waiting for the stock price to maybe decompress a little bit, absorb that move. You could call this an absorption of this move. Um, and then again, we're kind of starting to get a move higher away from these lows. And to me, again, I would say it looks like you're getting an opportunity to position in the stock for even higher levels. So this would be a 2 times target of this target 39.88. And the 2 times target would be 96.24, because it would be like, so this was 141%. This is 141%. So that's why you get to 96.24. Um, so anyway, we'll see how it pans out. For trading view, because what I like when you post those individual ideas and then you hit the play button and it gives you the future. If you're on TradingView, you know what I'm talking about. So what I'll do is I'll post this video, and then what I'll do is after it, I'll also post kind of an individual just chart idea of Lemonade. That way there's always like this play button right here. When you create those individual chart ideas on TradingView, and that so say you want to check the idea in 2 months, you can hit the play button and see how it worked out. So you can see if Lemonade went up to here, or if Lemonade sucked, and if it stayed in this range, or whatever. So I'll post this video, and then I'll post an individual chart idea, just so that we can get that play button and you can easily track to see how this idea plays out or has played out. So thanks for tuning in again. I should probably mention this at the beginning of the video. You know, if you're on other platforms, I think you can watch this at like 2x speed if it's too slow for you. I mean, 17 minutes, pretty long video. So hope you enjoyed it. I really went deep into like the history of the Lemonade stock price and the history. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they continue to grow. Um, I don't really know. I know one person who's used Lemonade, and I haven't heard them say anything negative about it on social media. um, so, hopefully the company can keep growing, you know, um, keep providing a good peace of mind product. That's what insurance is, peace of mind product. And hopefully we can get the market to buy the stock and move us higher. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in, whether you did for the whole video or just a little bit of the video. Cheers. See you in the next one. Bye bye.